Well, the pros are, in my view, are clearly more than the cons. It gives you, if you use a credit card to make a big ticket item purchase, you receive additional cover from the credit card company. But also, credit cards also gives you a degree of personal safety because you are not carrying as much money around with you with a credit card. Also, if you lose a credit card, it is possible for you to actually deactivate the card, whereas if you carry money on you and you lose your money, then that money is lost, etc. These are some of the pros of a credit card. Also, one of the pros of having a credit card is that it helps consumers to build a credit history. Because by having a credit card and making regular payments, it is then other lenders, whether a mortgage lender or a loan lender, will actually have something to go by, that a consumer has a track record. Whereas if the consumer has no credit cards, it's very difficult for a lender to come to a view with respect to that. As far as the cons are concerned, again, it is a very expensive way of borrowing money, either in the short term or in the long term when you compare it to bank loans. The other one is of course, when you owe money on a credit card and you miss payments, the penalties for missing payments can be quite extortionate with some cards. So for all these reasons, these are the cons with respect to credit cards. But I truly believe the pros of having a credit card far outweigh the cons. If you have a credit card and you don't use it, then it will neither hurt nor enhance your credit history, because credit history is about having a track record of owing money and making regular payments to get rid of that debt. It tells prospective lenders that you are someone who they can trust. That is the whole point of building up a credit history, and that's one of the pros of having a credit card, as I said. Firstly, it is important that consumers do their homework with respect to credit card. You need to find a credit card which fits your lifestyle. And by lifestyle, I mean the way you spend money and the way you intend to pay off any debts that you have. That's the first thing. The second thing is to actually go for a credit card without excess penalties. Some credit cards, they charge you to transfer your credit balance from an existing card to a new card, whilst others don't. And therefore, it makes sense for the consumer to go for a credit card where they are not charged a premium to transfer an existing debt to another. So those are some of the pitfalls that consumers should look for when purchasing their credit cards. Yes, I think the rule of the thumb here is low APR good, high APR bad, with apologies to Animal Farm, of course. And therefore, again, the mantra here is for consumers to shop in the same way that we do on the high street. If we go onto the high street, we look at a range of shops before we make a purchasing decision. The same thing should be done with credit cards. And a very good tool is creditcardbank.co.uk, where we have a comparison table for consumers to look at the current APRs and to make an informed decision on the cards that they should go for. Very careful, clearly. Credit cards should not be used for impulse buying. That's number one. And number two, credit cards should ideally be used on an emergency basis only. And lastly, you should endeavor to pay off your, any debt incurred on your credit cards, either at the end of the month or before the end of the interest-free period. Yes, I think essential purchasing on credit cards are big ticket items like consumer electronics. The reason why one should use credit card is that in addition to want to a consumer's right under the consumer legislation. You have added protection from the credit card provider if you use the credit card. So in effect, you are getting twice the cover that you will normally have had you gone in and paid with a check or with cash. And some of the items include travel as well. Travel is a very good one to buy with credit cards, because quite often you may be giving additional travel insurance for using your credit cards. Online purchases, of course, because it is very convenient to do so. And lastly, home delivery items. As far as non-essentials are concerned, clearly never use your credit card to draw cash out, because a lot of the credit card companies, they charge a huge premium when you use your credit card to draw cash out. The other thing is for consumers not to use credit card as a hire purchase facility, because it's a very short-term loan that you should pay off as soon as possible. And of course, never use your credit card to buy food. Not restaurants. It is quite convenient for you to use in restaurants, but I mean weekly groceries that family do, because there was a case study done with respect to how credit card companies find out which consumers are likely to default and which ones are not, and they found out that consumers who uses credit card to buy food tends to default more than people who don't. So. I think the issue, the answer to your question, is that we live in a consumer society where we have a lot of aspirations. Those aspirations are materialistic. They might be clothes, they might be a new iPod, etc., etc. And consumers find credit cards very, very convenient to use to make these purchases. And this is why I think we have this explosion in debt in the country currently. I think what we need to recognize to begin with is that credit card providers are businesses like any other business, and what they do in effect is to market a product. In a sense, you could argue that they live the morality of whether it is good to advertise to consumers or not. It's not a priority with them, but I will say that yes, you have tempting offers out there, and this is why it is important for consumers to make an informed choice before they fall for marketing spiel, if you like. I think I will have to defer to an old adage. I think it's from Hamlet, Shakespeare. Neither a borrower nor a lender be, and that is to use your credit card as an emergency credit line. That's one advice that I will give, to avoid impulse purchasing. And lastly, of course, to ensure that if you're going to use a credit card, please shop around and make sure you get a credit card which suits your lifestyle in terms of how you spend money and how you repay your debt. There are some very, very good deals out there, and the best way to explain this is to give you an analogy. If a consumer owes £5,000 on an existing credit card, and they transfer that debt to a credit card which gives them 0% APR for 12 months, it means that at, let's say, 15.9, let's assume they were paying 15.9% on the £5,000. By transferring to a 0% APR card for 12 months, they will save nearly £1,000. And indeed, it is even better value if they finish paying that debt before the end of the 12 months. So there are some very good deals out there, and these deals are they're certainly worth every penny. It's very debatable whether or not they do. Certainly, credit card providers have a legal obligation which they fulfill within the terms of their contract, and it is often hidden in the small print, but in the main they do. Some of them, however, they go beyond their legal responsibilities and stress that consumers should be sensible when using credit cards, and I think they cannot do any more than that, and that's my view in that particular respect. If you drink wine to moderation, it can be quite good. But of course, if you drink wine in excess, it isn't very good. I would say exactly the same for credit cards. If you use credit cards as they're meant to be used, as short-term interest-free loan, then they're very good. But if you actually go out and incur debt on credit cards, then they are not such a good consumer product.